The last transmission, the research station, hung in space like a broken jewel, its crystalline structures reflecting the light of 3 distant suns. Dr. Kira Morvith pressed her 6-fingered hands against the observation deck's transparent aluminum, watching as another section of her life's work exploded into fragments of metal and dreams. The Void Hunters had found them. Dr. Morvith. Jorik Vess, her research assistant, came running through the corridors, his blue skin pale with terror. The outer laboratories are gone. They're cutting through the defensive shields like they're made of paper. Kira closed her large, dark eyes and tried to stay calm. 3 years of research. 3 years of following ancient clues across the galaxy. 3 years of hoping they could find something, anything, that might stop the Void Hunters before they consumed every civilized world in their path. The station shuddered as another blast struck the hull. Through the observation windows, she could see the enemy ships approaching. They looked like massive black spiders made of metal and malice, their weapon systems glowing with hungry red light. Each ship was the size of a small moon, bristling with technology that no known civilization could match. "Have you sent the evacuation order?" Kira asked, though she already knew it was too late. The Void Hunters never left survivors. They consumed everything. People, technology, knowledge, even the planets themselves. Entire star systems had gone. Dark over the past 5 years, as the mysterious enemies swept across the galaxy like a plague of living darkness. "The escape pods are gone," Jorik said, his voice breaking. "They destroyed the docking bay first." "We're trapped," Kira nodded. The Void Hunters were efficient. They had done this before, countless times. But perhaps their efficiency would be their weakness. Perhaps they had grown overconfident. She turned from the window and walked quickly toward her private laboratory. If she was going to die, she would make sure her discovery didn't die with her. "Where are you going?" Jorik followed her, stumbling over debris that had fallen from the ceiling. "To send a message," Kira said. "Help me activate the deep space transmitter." The laboratory was in chaos. Equipment lay scattered across the floor, and several workstations were sparking with electrical fires. But the transmitter was still intact, its massive dish pointing toward the galactic core where most of the civilized worlds clustered together for protection. Kira's research had uncovered references to an ancient weapon, something called the Harmony Engine. According to the oldest records, it had been built by a long-dead civilization, specifically to counter entities like the Void Hunters. The weapon wasn't just powerful. It was designed to turn the enemy's own hunger against them. She had found the weapon's location, hidden in a system that most star charts didn't even acknowledge. But she needed help to reach it, and more importantly, she needed someone with the courage to try. "Activating transmitter," Jorik said, his hands flying over the controls. "We're connected to the galactic network." Kira began recording her message, speaking quickly as the station shook around them. "This is Dr. Kira Morvith of the Thylosian Deep Space Research Institute. Our station is under attack by Void Hunter forces. I have discovered the location of an ancient weapon that may be capable of stopping their advance. The weapon is located in the Kepler 442 system, coordinates attached. We need immediate assistance to—" The laboratory door exploded inward. Through the smoke and flames, she could see shapes moving. Not the black metal of Void Hunter machines, but something worse. The Void Hunters used converted beings from the worlds they conquered, turning victims into living weapons through technology. Bet nobody understood? "Send the message," Kira shouted to Jorik. "Send it to everyone." The transmission went out across the galaxy, carrying her research data and the coordinates of the ancient weapon. It reached the Altari Federation first, then the Centauri Alliance, and the Regal Consortium. One by one, the replies came back. Request denied. Federation forces are committed to defensive positions. Alliance Command regrets that no ships are available for offensive operations. Consortium policy prohibits engagement with Void Hunter forces. Fear had paralyzed the galaxy. Every advanced civilization had pulled back to defend their core worlds, hoping the Void Hunters would be satisfied with consuming the outer systems. None of them were willing to risk their fleets on a desperate mission based on ancient legends. Kira felt her heart sink as rejection after rejection filled the communication array. She had been naive to hope that anyone would answer. The Void Hunters had broken the spirit of the galaxy's greatest civilizations. Then something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared on the transmitter, weak and strange. The carrier wave was primitive, using technology that was centuries out of date. The source was listed as a system in the galactic outer rim, a place so remote that most civilizations had quarantined it as uninhabitable. Dr. Morvith, the voice, said, speaking galactic standard with an odd accent, "This is Commander Marcus Chun of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We're coming to help." Kira stared at the communication display. Earth? She had never heard of such a world. According to the database, the Sol system was marked as a death world, unsuitable for intelligent life. The few survey reports described a planet with extreme weather, dangerous radiation, and gravity that would crush most known species. "Commander Chun," she replied quickly, "you don't understand? The Void Hunters have weapons that can destroy entire fleets. They've conquered civilizations that had technology far beyond anything a quarantined world could possess. We understand. The threat, Doctor." Chun's voice came back, calm and steady. "We've been watching the Void Hunters for quite some time. We know what they can do." Watching? How could a primitive world watch anything happening in the galaxy's core? "Sir, with respect, you don't have the capability to fight these enemies. They've destroyed worlds with millions of years of technological development." There was a pause. When Chun spoke again, there was something in his voice that made Kira's skin prickle. "Doctor, you sent a call for help. Earth is answering. We'll be there in 18 hours. 18 hours? That was impossible. Even with the fastest ships in the galaxy, the journey from the outer rim would take weeks. Before she could respond, the communication was cut off by another explosion. The Void Hunter forces had breached the station's inner defenses. Through the laboratory's remains, she could see the converted beings approaching, their eyes glowing with the same red light as their ship's weapons. Jorik grabbed her arm. "The emergency shelter," he said. "We can hold out there for a few hours." They ran through corridors filled with smoke and debris, past the bodies of their colleagues and friends. The emergency shelter was a small, reinforced room designed to protect the research staff during accidents. It wasn't meant to withstand a military assault, but it was their only option. As they sealed the door behind them, Kira activated the shelter's internal sensors. The readings showed that the entire station was being systematically destroyed. The Void Hunters weren't just killing everyone. They were consuming the station itself, breaking it down at the molecular level and absorbing the materials. "How long do we have?" Jorik asked. Kira checked the power levels and life support systems. 6 hours, maybe 8 if we ration the air, but the humans had said 18 hours. Even if they were telling the truth about coming to help, they would. Arrived too late, she settled into one of the shelter seats and tried to make sense of what she had learned. A quarantined death world had somehow been monitoring galactic affairs. They claimed to understand the Void Hunter threat. And they had ships that could travel faster than anything in known space. Asterisk. Either the humans were lying, or there was something about this Earth that the galactic databases had gotten very wrong. The shelter shook as another section of the station was consumed. Outside, she could hear the sound of metal being torn apart. The Void Hunters were methodical in their destruction, taking everything piece by piece. Kira closed her eyes and tried to remember everything she had learned about the ancient weapon. The Harmony engine had been designed by a species called the Architects, who had faced a similar threat millions of years ago. According to the records, they had succeeded in stopping their enemies, but the cost had been so great that their entire civilization had collapsed. Would the humans be willing to pay such a price? Would anyone? Hours passed. The shelter's life support systems began to fail, and the air grew thin and stale. Jorik had fallen asleep, exhausted by fear and the knowledge that death was coming for them. Then the shelter's external sensors detected something new. Ships were approaching, moving faster than anything Kira had ever seen. But these weren't Void Hunter vessels. The energy signatures were completely different, and they were broadcasting the same primitive signals that Commander Chun had used. Dr. Morvith. Chun's voice came through the communication system. This is the Earthship Determination. We're beginning rescue operations. Please respond if you can hear this. Kira activated the transmitter with shaking hands. Commander Chun, we're in Emergency Shelter 12, Section 7. But sir, you need to understand, there are Void Hunter ships in this system. Massive ones. You need to run. We see them, Doctor. Don't worry about us. We're going to get you out of there. Through the shelter's sensors, Kira could see the human ships for the first time. They were smaller than she had expected, sleek and angular, where most galactic vessels were curved and smooth. But there was something about them that made her nervous. They moved like living things, like predators circling their prey. Commander, she said urgently, there are 12 Void Hunter ships in this system. Each one is over 2 kilometers long, and armed with weapons that can crack planets. You need to retreat and call for reinforcements. Doctor, Chun replied, and now she could hear something in his voice that hadn't been there before. Something cold and hard and very, very dangerous. We didn't come here to retreat. We came here to fight. The first explosion lit up space like a newborn star. Part 2. Children of the Harsh Mother. Rescue operation began with precision that impressed even Kira's scientific mind. The human ships moved through the debris field around her station, like they had done this 1,000 times before. Small craft launched from the larger vessels, each one heading directly toward the emergency shelters scattered throughout the wreckage. Commander Marcus Chon himself led the team that reached Kira's shelter. When the airlock door opened, she got her first look at a human being. He was tall, taller than most Thylosians, with dark skin and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. His species only had 2 eyes instead of her people's 4, but somehow they seemed to see more. He wore a uniform that was clearly military, but it was made from materials she didn't recognize. Dr. Morvith, he said, extending a hand in what she realized was a greeting gesture. I'm glad we made it in time. Commander Chun, she replied, taking his hand carefully. Human skin was rougher than hers, marked with small scars that spoke of a hard life. How did you get here so quickly? And how are you not being attacked by the Void Hunter ships? Chun smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. We're dealing with your Void Hunter problem, Doctor. But first, let's get you and your assistant to safety. The human rescue craft was cramped but efficient. As they flew toward the larger ships, Kira stared out the viewport at the scene around them. The Void Hunter vessels hung in space like sleeping giants, their weapons powered down. But she could see smaller human ships moving around them, doing something she couldn't quite make out. What are your people doing to their ships? She asked. Lieutenant Sarah Okafor, the craft's pilot, glanced back at her. Like Chun, she had the kind of scars that came from surviving dangerous situations. Mining operation, she said simply. Mining? The Void Hunters like to consume things, Chun explained. We're teaching them what it feels like to be consumed. Before Kira could ask what that meant, they reached the human flagship. The ship was called Determination, and it was unlike anything in her experience. Where most galactic vessels were. Designed for comfort and efficiency, this ship was built for war. Every surface was armored, every system was redundant, and every corridor felt like it could withstand a direct hit from heavy weapons. "Welcome aboard," Chun said as they walked through the ship's corridors. "I know this must be overwhelming, but we need to move quickly. According to our intelligence, a much larger Void Hunter fleet is on its way to this system." "Intelligence?" Kira stopped walking. "Commander, forgive me, but your world is listed in our databases as a quarantined death world. How do you have intelligence about galactic affairs?" Chun paused at a junction in the corridor. For a moment, his expression became distant, almost sad. "Doctor, what do your databases say about Earth?" "That it's uninhabitable. Extreme weather, dangerous radiation, gravity that would crush most species. The survey reports recommended that no contact be attempted with any life forms that might exist there." "The survey reports were correct," Chun said. "Earth is a death world. It has ice ages that last for thousands of years, volcanic eruptions that can change the climate of entire continents, solar radiation that causes cancer, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, droughts. Most of the plants and animals are poisonous, and the ones that aren't are usually trying to eat you. Then how do you survive there?" Chun started walking. Again, leading her deeper into the ship. "We don't just survive, Doctor. We thrive. Because when your whole world is constantly trying to kill you, you learn to adapt. You learn to fight. And you learn that the most dangerous enemy is the one that underestimates you." They reached the ship's command center, a large room filled with displays and control stations. Humans worked at every station, their movements quick and confident. On the main display, Kira could see a tactical view of the system. "Professor Reeves," Chun called to an older human who was studying her research data. "What's your analysis of the Harmony engine?" The professor looked up, his eyes bright with excitement. "Commander, this is incredible. The weapon isn't designed to destroy the Void Hunters directly. It's designed to disrupt their ability to convert matter into energy. Essentially, it would turn their own feeding process against them. Can we build it?" Chun asked. "With the doctor's research data and our current technology?" "Yes, but it would take months, maybe years." Kira felt her heart sink. "Commander, the Void Hunter fleet will be here in days, not months." Chun smiled that cold smile again. "Doctor, we're not going to build the Harmony engine. We're going to steal it." Before she could ask what he meant, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Lieutenant O'Coffer's voice came over the communication system. "Commander, we have multiple contacts coming out of hyperspace. It's the main Void Hunter fleet." The tactical display changed, showing dozens of new contacts appearing at the edge of the system. Each one was massive, dwarfing even the 12 ships that had originally attacked the research station. "How many?" Chun asked calmly. 47 ships, sir. Battle cruiser class and above. They're forming attack formations." Kira stared at the display in horror. The human fleet consisted of only 8 ships, all of them smaller than a single Void Hunter cruiser. "Commander, you need to retreat. This is suicide." "Doctor," Chun said, walking to the command console, "let me tell you something about humans. We've been fighting impossible odds since we first walked upright. We've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, natural disasters, and each other. We've learned that the key to survival isn't having the biggest weapons or the strongest armor. It's being adaptable. It's being unpredictable. And it's never, ever giving up." He activated the ship's communication system. "All ships, this is Commander Chun. Execute Operation Death World. The human fleet suddenly scattered, each ship heading in a different direction. But they weren't retreating. Instead, they were moving toward specific Void Hunter vessels, using flight patterns that made no tactical sense. "Sir," Jorek said nervously, "what are they doing?" Professor Reeves answered instead of Chun. "They're using the Void Hunter's size against them. Those massive ships are powerful, but they're not maneuverable. The human ships are small enough to get inside their defensive perimeter." On the display, Kira watched as the first human ship approached a Void Hunter cruiser. Instead of engaging in a conventional attack, the human vessel did something unprecedented. It attached itself to the enemy ship's hull like a parasite. "They're boarding," she whispered. "Not boarding," Chun corrected. "Infecting." Suddenly, the Void Hunter ship's energy readings began to fluctuate. Its weapons powered down, its shields collapsed, and its propulsion systems went offline. Whatever the humans had done to it was spreading through the ship's systems like a virus. "The Darwin Protocol," Professor Reeves explained, seeing Kira's confused expression. "We developed it after studying captured Void Hunter technology. It's a computer virus designed to turn their own adaptive systems against them. The more they try to fight it, the stronger it becomes." More human ships reached their targets, each one delivering the same treatment. Within minutes, half the Void Hunter fleet was crippled, but the remaining ships had learned from watching their companions fall. They began targeting the human vessels with concentrated fire. "Shields at 60%, Okafor reported as the determination shook under enemy fire. "Continue the mission," Shen ordered. "All ships, Phase 2. The second phase was even more audacious than the first. The human ships that had successfully infected their targets now detached and began moving toward the still functional Void Hunter vessels. But they weren't alone. The infected ships, their systems now under human control, began firing on their own fleet. "This is insane," Kira breathed. "You're turning them against each other. Divide and conquer," Chun said. "It's an old human strategy. When you're outnumbered, make sure your enemies spend more time fighting each other than fighting you." The battle became a chaotic melee as infected Void Hunter ships engaged their uninfected companions. The human vessels darted between the giants, delivering more infections and coordinating the growing rebellion within the enemy fleet. But the Void Hunters were learning. The remaining uninfected ships began targeting their converted companions, destroying them before the infection could spread further. Soon, only a dozen of the largest enemy vessels remained, but they were the most dangerous ones. "Commander," Okafor reported, "we're detecting massive energy buildup in the remaining ships. They're preparing to use some kind of super weapon." Sean nodded grimly. "They're going to try to destroy the entire system rather than let us win." "Professor, is the Harmony engine ready?" "Sir, we still haven't reached the coordinates Dr. Morvith provided." "We don't need to," Sean said. He turned to Kira with an expression that was both apologetic and determined. "Doctor, your research was excellent, but incomplete. The Harmony engine wasn't hidden in the Kepler 442 system. It was hidden much closer to home." "What do you mean?" "It's buried under 2 kilometers of ice on Earth's moon. My people have been excavating it for the past 50 years, ever since we first detected the Void Hunter signals. We've been waiting for them to come to us." Kira felt the blood drain from her face. "You mean this was all planned? You knew they would attack the outer systems first?" "We knew they would follow their pattern," Chun said. "Consume the weak first, then move inward toward the core worlds. But we also knew that eventually they would reach Earth. And when they did, we wanted to be ready." A tactical display showed the remaining Void Hunter ships beginning to glow with building energy. Whatever weapon they were preparing, it would be powerful enough to destroy everything in the system. All ships, Chun broadcast. Initiate final protocol. Send the signal to Luna Base. A new contact appeared on the display, moving impossibly fast from the direction of the outer rim. It was small, no larger than a fighter craft, but its energy signature was off the charts. The Harmony engine, Professor Reeves announced, mounted on our fastest courier ship. The small craft streaked through the system, dodging fire from the Yuts. Void hunter ships. As it passed each enemy vessel, something extraordinary happened. The massive ships simply stopped. Their energy readings dropped to zero. Their weapons powered down, and their hulls began to crack and deteriorate. What's happening to them? Jorik asked. The Harmony engine disrupts their ability to convert matter into energy, Shun explained. Without that ability, they can't maintain their molecular cohesion. They're literally falling apart. One by one, the remaining Void Hunter ships collapsed into clouds of drifting atoms. The threat that had terrorized the galaxy for 5 years was ended in less than an hour by a species that most civilizations had dismissed as primitive as the last enemy vessel disintegrated. Chun turned to Kira with a tired but satisfied smile. Doctor, I believe you wanted to study ancient weapons. How would you like to help us understand what we just used? Kira nodded, still stunned by everything she had witnessed. Commander, I have to ask, if Earth had this capability all along, why didn't you act sooner? Why did you let so many worlds fall to the Void Hunters? Chun's expression became serious again. Because we needed to understand them first. We needed to learn their patterns, their weaknesses, their technology. And we needed the galaxy to see what they were truly capable of, so that when we finally revealed ourselves, everyone would understand that Earth wasn't just another primitive world asking for help. We were the help you were waiting for, Kiera. Realized the galaxy spent so long looking inward toward the core worlds where civilization was oldest and most advanced, Chun said. But sometimes the solution comes from the edges, from the places you least expect. Earth may be a death world, but it's also a world that breeds survivors. And sometimes that's exactly what the galaxy needs. As the human fleet began rescue, operations for the survivors of other attacks throughout the system, Kira looked out at the stars and realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted. The quarantined death world had become its protector, and the children of the harsh mother had shown everyone what it meant to never give up. Asterisk.